for your information, the historical development, almost yung formal historical accounts kung saan nagsimula yung criminal investigation, majority of those accounts transpired in England or in London. Okay? Now, so it was during the reign of Alfred the Great wherein na-establish yung system ng tinatawag natin na Gisborne Pledge. Okay? So ang tanong ngayon is, ano ba yung tinatawag na Gisborne Pledge? Okay? So the system of Gisborne Pledge is, ang ginawa nito, or rather, ang highlight ng system na to is the country was divided into different levels. And for each level, meron siyang naka-assign na system wherein it is designed to provide security, to provide safekeeping to its citizens. Okay? Now, what are the different concepts that are in this Gisborne Pledge system? We have the tithing system, we have the 10 tithing system, and we also have the 100 tithing system. Okay? So, sir, ano ba yung tinatawag na tithing system? Ano ba yung tinatawag na 10 tithing at saka 100 tithing system? Okay? So, may I ask, sino ba sa inyo dito yung iba yung religion aside from being a Roman Catholic? Discussion, andyan yung word na tithing, 10 tithing, at saka 100 tithing. So we need to say, ang tithing is composed, or this is a group composed of 10 persons. Can you follow? So we need to say, the concept of tithing, yun na nga, as I was saying, this is a group which is composed of 10 persons. So ano yung responsibility nila? Ano yung function nila? So, the tithing, they are responsible to one another. My dear students, you have to consider that during those times, yung population is hindi masyadong malaki. Okay? Also, you have to consider na kumbaga ang lugar, population sa isang lugar, maliit, tapos, yun na nga, yung bahay nila is not totally kagaya ng setup ngayon, which is halos magkakatabi yung mga bahay. Okay? Although meron tinatawag na village, o kumbaga, dyan nakasentro, yung entire populace is hindi sila masyadong magkakatabi yung mga bahay nila. So, merong agwan. So, the problem now is how to maintain security, or how to provide security, or how to be secure during those times. So si Alfred the Great is, yun na nga, na-devise or naisip na yung system ng mutual pledge, or tinatawag din siya as frank pledge system. Kindly take down notes sa amin, dear students, kasi nga yung sa PowerPoint ko, these are only summary. So yun. So na-create or na-conceive yung idea ng frank pledge system. So going back to the tithing system, so itong 10 taong ito, itong 10 ano bang proper term dito, yung head of each family, so trabaho nila to provide security. Also, they are responsible for the actions of every member. Ano sabihin niya? Kapag ka ang isang member ng tithing is magkamali, so meaning to say, pati yung ibang members are also responsible. So, hence the concept of, kumbaga, kung ikaw, member of this tithing, you have to be disciplined. Hindi ka pwedeng basta-basta mag-away ng another member ng tithing. Kasi nga, when that happens, normally, yung one tithing to another tithing will have a conflict. Okay, so that's why kinonsive nila yung idea nila. So that's the main concept of tithing. Now, after nila ma-conceive yung system ng Taiti, comes another group, 10 Taiti. So yung one Taiti is binuo sila, or rather, from one Taiti, merong another Taiti until umabot sila ng 10. So ang tawag sa kanila ngayon is 10 Taiti. So almost the same din yung setup. They are responsible for providing security to that particular jurisdiction. So kung sa Taiti, ang pinaka-leader nila is chief. Sa 10 Taiti naman, ang pinaka leader nila is constable, or meaning to say, they are responsible to report to a so-called high constable. And then, during those times kasi is periodically nai-invade or nagkakaroon ng changes doon sa kung sino yung mamamahala sa England. Okay? So, there were times na nasakop yung France or nasakop yung England ng mga French. So, another ruler na naman doon sa England. Okay? So now, what happened now is si William Norman, nung ma-conquer niya yung England or yung masakop niya yung England is instead of adapting yung concept of tithing and ten-tithing is mas pinalaki pa nila. Mas pinalaki nila, and then kinonseive nila yung idea of dividing yung England or yung entire territory of England into what we call as shires or districts. So, localized na yung pag-provide ng security. And what happened now is these particular districts are being headed by a reeve, or what we refer to as ruler. Hence, na-conceive yung for every district, mayroong tinatawag na shire reeve. Okay? So yung shire reeve, dyan nag-umpisa yung word na or term na sheriff. Okay? So, can you follow?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, let's move on to another period. Now, it was during the time of Christ naman, ang set up nito is sa Rome. So during the time of Christ is, yun, nakapag-create din sila ng another system. Main purpose is to provide security, and for whatever happens, magkaroon ng krimen, magkaroon ng problema doon sa peace and order sa kanilang lugar, is na-create yung system. Ano yung konsepto dito sa system na to? Nag-exist yung konsepto ng Praetorian Guard, Praefectus Orbi, at saka konsepto ng Vigils of Rome. Now, ano ang pinagkaiba ng tatlong ito? So let's start first with Praetorian Guard and Praefectus Orbi. Okay? The main difference between Praetorian Guard and Praefectus Orbi is that yung Praetorian Guard, ang trabaho nila is to protect yung palace of Rome at saka yung emperor. Anyways, nakikita klaro ba yung letters? Yeah, klaro na?
Yes, sir. Visible, sir.
Good. So, as I was saying, ang trabaho ng Praetorian Guard is to provide security to the Roman Emperor and to the palace. So, limited lang yung trabaho nila doon. Okay? So, kung yung sa Praefectus Orbi naman, ang trabaho nila is, or rather, their mandate is not to provide security or not to protect the emperor and not the palace, but rather their mandate is to protect the city or the entire populace. So that's the difference between Praetorian Guard and Praefectus Orbi. Now, there's a catch between Praefectus Orbi, considering that the Praefectus Orbi also exercises executive and judicial power. Meaning to say, pagka mayroong problema, so pwede silang mag-impose ng penalty right there and then. Also, pwede rin silang mag, uh, I mean, pwede rin silang mag-practice ng judicial power. Meaning to say, pagka mayroong problema na ipresent sa kanila and needs to be decided, so pwede rin silang mag-decide ng problema na yan. So they both exercises executive and judicial power. So pwede sila mag-create or mag-suggest kung ano yung magandang legal restraints, mechanisms para makontrol yung behavior ng mga tao. At the same time, pwede rin silang mag-act as magistrates or judges. Pwede silang mag-decide ng mga cases or mga problem that exist doon sa city. So that is the main difference between Praetorian Guard and Praefectus Orbi. On the other hand, the concept ng vigiles of Rome. Okay? Ano ba yung vigiles of Rome? So they were considered as a civil police force. Civil police force in the sense na they are not equipped with military powers. Okay? They are not equipped with military powers. So their main function is only to protect citizens. However, as time goes by, considering na yung mga tao na nagiging membro or becomes part or becomes a Praetorian Guard, Praefectus Orbi, and those people who becomes vigiles of Rome, you have to know that these people comes from the lower strata of the society. Meaning to say, may hirap yan. Most of them uneducated. So if we try to imagine during those times, commonly, yung nakapag-avail lang ng education, not really formal, are those who belong to the aristocrats. Okay? So since nasa lower strata sila ng society, uneducated, and equally, they are also unruly. So, as time progresses, these vigiles of Rome, they were able to gain a reputation amongst themselves as being brutal. Okay? And by this is where the word vigilante originated. Okay? So these are some of the concepts that evolved during the time of Christ. Balik tayo ulit sa England. Yung tinatawag na the Statute of Winchester. Okay. Anyways, do you have questions or do you have concerns? Clarifications, perhaps?
Wala
sir. None so far, sir.
Okay, thank you. Moving on. As I was saying, the Statute of Winchester was enacted in England. And the main purpose as to why this particular statute was established is to create the so-called Watch and Ward Act, the hue and cry system, at saka yung pag-delegate ng power sa mga parish constables. Wait na. Alright, so yun. So as I was saying, when the Statute of Winchester was promulgated, yung responsibility of law enforcement or maintaining yung peace and order over a particular territory remain with the people themselves. So meaning to say, wala na specialized uh, group of people who provide security to the entire population. But rather, what they did or what the statute of Winchester provided is that yung policing power remained with the entire population. Okay, so that's the big difference there. Hence, the conception of the Watch and Ward Act. So, by virtue of this Watch and Ward Act, na-create yung watch, na-create yung ward. Okay? So, ano yung pinagkaiba ng watch sa ward? So, ang trabaho ng watch is to provide security, or simply speaking, ang trabaho nila is to patrol the streets, to provide security during night time. Samantala, ang ward naman is during daytime. Tama. So watch, nighttime, yung ward naman during daytime. So ano yung trabaho nila? So this required, or rather the Watch and Ward Act required all men to serve on the night watch with three major duties. First duty nila to patrol the streets from dusk to dawn. Mula takip silim hanggang takip araw. Ika-ika. So the main purpose is to ensure that all local people were indoors and quiet and that no strangers were roaming. So you see, as early as 1285, na-conceive na yung ano bang konsepto, yung pinapractice nila. Miss Cantones, anong konsepto yung pinapractice nila dito?
Sir?
Ano yung konsepto na pinapractice nila dito sa first provision ng Watch and Ward Act?
Sir, they perform duties such as lighting street lamps, sir. So, you're the one
Yung first.
Yung first, sir, mo duty sila, sir, mo patrol sila sa streets from dusk till dawn to ensure that all local people were indoors and quiet and no strangers were roaming about. Yeah.
Kung sa contemporary setup natin, ano yung konsepto nito?
Sir, sitaw gani. Curfew, sir. Yes, sir, curfew.
Very good, very good. Diba? Curfew. Diba? Yung mga barangay tanod natin, diba? During night time, nagpapatrol sila sa kanya-kanyang barangay natin. And yung main purpose is that the main purpose is to ensure na kumbaga yung mga minor wala ng pag-alagala sa kalsada. So dapat nasa bahay na sila. Diba? So as early as that, diba, by virtue of the Statute of Winchester, by virtue of the Watch and Ward Act, na-create or na-conceive yung idea na ganyan. Okay? So sa second naman, ito medyo common ito during that time kasi nga, obviously, hindi pa industrial revolution period. So during that time, wala pang kuryente. So ang trabaho nila is to, or rather, included sa trabaho nila, yung lighting of the street lamps, yung pag-maintain ng cleanliness, to clear garbage from the streets, and also, they function as firefighters. Okay? So, pwede rin trabaho rin nila na pag umaga na, pinapatay nila yung mga street lights. Kumbaga, gasera. Gasera yung lamps na run by fuel or kerosene kung sa contemporary setup. So included yan sa trabaho nila ng mga watch. Okay? Sa yung last naman na function nila is obviously to enforce yung criminal law. Now, so that is for watch and ward na system. Okay? So you have to consider also na during those times, obviously, malawak yung jurisdiction na sakop nila. And, yun na nga, in order for it to be really effective, na-conceive yung konsepto ng hue and cry. Okay, hue and cry. So, ano bang ibig sabihin ng hue and cry? Ano bang meron dito? If in case, for example, magkaroon ng problema, tapos andyan yung mga watch, gabi yung setup. Tapos hinabol nila yung perpetrator, nagkaroon ng burglary or whatever infraction na nakomit. Hinahabol nila. So basically, pwede sila or nag-exist yung hue and cry in order para mag-help doon sa mga watch natin. So pwede silang magsisigaw, sigaw ng sigaw. Di ba? So meaning to say, base or by virtue of hue and cry system, pag makarinig yung mga normals or regular citizens, yung mga hindi watch at saka yung mga hindi ward, pag makarinig sila na sumisigaw yung watch o di kaya ward, they are required to render assistance doon sa watch o di kaya sa ward. Okay? So if we are to translate this particular concept to our contemporary setup, ano naman ito? Do you have your criminal law already? Book 1?
Mag-discuss po, sir.
Siren, sir.
Mr. Glenn Abilia,
Yes, sir.
ano
Maghapon,
yung
sir.
equivalent na konsepto nito kung sa contemporary setup natin?
Kuha, sir. No idea lagi ko, sir.
What about Miss Gabuya?
About ano sir, ako mo sir kanang if nabitay mga tulong sir kay ang mismo mga silingan mismo amo tabang sir.
Pero assuming, kung sa ngayon, pulis ka, tapos may nahabol kayo at pursuit. Okay?
Siren,
Hingi kayo ng tulong sa mga sibilyan. Anong tawag natin dyan?
Community, sir?
Community, or this is what we refer to as
Civilians?
citizens arrest. Yeah, citizens arrest. So meaning to say, tayo, as citizens, we also have that power to render arrest. Okay, so sa kanila, yung setup nila, they are mandated or they are required to provide assistance doon sa watch o di kaya doon sa ward na humihingi ng tulong. Okay, can you follow?
Yes sir.
Yes,
Okay,
sir.
now, so para mas maganda pa yung sistema, okay, so naisip ni Winchester na yung watch and ward is under sila sa administration ng mga parish constables. You have to consider during those time, kumbaga, almost equivalent yung mga nasa simbahan at saka yung mga members ng monarkiya or monarch or yung mga kings or yung mga okay? So almost powerful sila. So ang ginawa nila, under supervision ng mga parish constables yung mga watch at saka so yun yung highlight ng Statute of Winchester. Okay? So we proceed with some personalities and their contributions sa criminal investigation. Anyways, do you have questions or do you have concerns?
None so far, sir.
Okay.
None so far, sir.
So we proceed with Mr. Jonathan Wild. Sino ba si Jonathan Wild? Jonathan Wild was a bottle maker and at the same time, he is a brothel operator. Alam niyo naman siguro kung ano yung brothel, right? So he was a brothel
Yes, sir.
operator and a master criminal and then naging effective siya as a criminal investigator. Now, sino ba yung may mga credit cards dito? Wala. But are you familiar with debit system or credit card system?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So, kumbaga, pwede ka maka-avail ng service and then i-ano na lang. I-charge siya as credit and then later on, babayaran mo siya sa bangko. Di ba? So, almost the same yung konsepto ni Jonathan Wild. So, yun na nga, since brutal operator siya, you have to take note of this. So since brutal operator siya, so mostly yung clients niya are from underworld. Di ba? Alasinggero, members ng kung ano, from the underworld. So normally, since brutal operator siya, easy lang sa kanya na makakuha ng mga information regarding sa criminal activities na nagka-transfer sa kanilang society. So, naging advantageous siya kay Jonathan Wild. So, ang ginawa ni Jonathan Wild is nakapag-create siya ng system wherein if in cases na nakawan ka, so for in exchange of fee, in exchange ng kabayaran, is tutulong siya sa'yo by locating and apprehending yung perpetrator at the same time makuha, ma-recover, ma-retrieve niya at saka maisuli sa iyo kung ano man yung minakaw. Right? So yun yung konsepto na nakuha or na-invento ni Jonathan Wild. Also naman si Henry Fielding. So sino ba si Henry Fielding? You have to take note of the Bow Street Runners. Why? Henry Fielding became the magistrate of Bow Street. Pangalan ito ng lugar. Okay? Bow Street. So, si Henry Fielding nang maging judge siya or nung maging magistrate siya sa Bow Street is na-observe niya na kumbaga marami yung krimen na nangyayari sa kanyang jurisdiction. So being a judge, nag-isip siya ng kung ano ang magandang gawin in order to reduce, if not to totally eradicate, yung problema sa krimen or sa kanyang lugar. Hence, na-conceive niya yung idea ng Bow Street Runners. So kumuha siya ng mga volunteers. Kumuha siya ng mga able-bodied men. And by conceiving, or rather, these Bow Street Runners, when it was conceived during that time, it gained the reputation of being the London's first professional police force. Take note andyan yung word na professional. So meaning to say, meron silang ina-undergo na interventions or sort of trainings that are related to their works as police force. Okay? So si yung system na yan is credited to Henry Fielding sa pamamagitan ng pag-found niya ng Bow Street Runners. Also, yung Bow Street Runners is considered as the foundation of all modern police. And alongside with Henry Fielding is si John Fielding. Okay? John Fielding. So si John Fielding actually is the younger half-brother ni Henry Fielding. So silang dalawa, silang dalawa yung nag-conceive ng Bow Street Runners. So ang main contribution naman ni John Fielding is siya yung naka-conceive or nakaisip ng idea of developing informants. Okay? So let me ask you, sino ba yung informant? Ano ba ang trabaho niya? Mr. Abilia.
Tighatag og information, sir.
Ha?
Tighatag og information, sir.
Nagtatag of information. Okay, you're correct. Thank you. Now, is there a difference between informant and informer? Miss Carla De Pedro.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Okay? So ano yung pinagkaiba nila?
I think, sir, kanang same ra sila, sir.
Oh, same lang. Okay? What about you, Mr. Gabutan? Johnny?
Sir,
Do you think may pinagkaiba sa informant at saka sa informer?
para na ako, sir, kabrag, the same raman sila mga idea, sir. Sana, sir.
Okay. Jaharazi Love.
Yes, sir. Good evening. For me, sir,
Yes,
nasa like
po.
difference.
Wala.
Sir.
O say difference nila.
Informants maybe voluntary mga sila information sa police. Well, the informants na, sir, and informers, my idea is maybe they're gonna mga sila information but dapat may bayad. Bibigyan sila
Very
na.
good. Yeah. That's actually correct. Okay, that's the difference between an informant and informer. Okay, so basically, si John Fielding, nung nag-develop siya ng system na, or rather, nung makusip niya yung system of developing informants, it's almost the same thing as nag-develop siya of producing or developing an intelligence network. Diba? So, nag-develop siya ng system kung saan pwede siya makakuha ng information. Also, si John Fielding, siya din yung nakapag-conceive ng idea na para mas mabilis, mas tumaas yung arrest rate nila, is mag-print sila ng wanted notices. And also, it was John Fielding who was able to introduce or was able to propagate the practice of dapat yung mga tao who are responsible of providing security should bear firearms and handcuffs. So, this is all credit to John Fielding. And accordingly, allegedly, so the blind John was known as the blind Dick, considering that allegedly he was able to recognize 3,000 criminals by the mere voice of the people whom he is interviewing. Okay, so that's the contribution of Mr. John Fielding. Then we also have Eugene Vidocq. So sino naman si Eugene Vidocq? So si Eugene Vidocq is being considered as the father of modern criminology in the French police. Okay? So, in the French police lang siya considered as a father of modern criminology. Do not confuse yourselves. Now, what's the main contribution of Mr. Eugene Bidok? So, Mr. Eugene Bidok was able to become an effective, okay, was able to become an effective investigator due to his theory, which states that set a thief to catch a thief. Diba? Which is really effective. Indeed, diba? It takes one to know one. Ika nga. So, naging effective yung system niya. So, Eugene Vidocq was also credited as the founder of La Sûreté. So, La Sûreté is the first French national detective organization. Okay, so that's for Mr. Vidocq. Then we also have Dr. Edmond Locard. Dr. Edmond Locard is famously known for his Dr. Edmond Locard is famously known for his exchange principle. According to Dr. Locard, every contact leaves a trace, which is actually true. So, by virtue of this, the criminal investigation became relatively easier because of this particular theory. So, ito din nag-umpisa, this is also where the concept of trace evidence started. Okay? So, trace evidence are evidences which are in nature minute or maliliit, and these are the commonly found pieces of evidence sa crime scene. What are the examples? Blood, fibers, hair, semen. So these are what we call as trace evidence. Okay? So this is by virtue of Locard's exchange principle, which once again states that every contact leaves trace. Then we also have Sir Robert Peel. Sir Robert Peel is a British statesman which is credited for establishing yung tinatawag na LMPF or Veteran MPF, London Metropolitan Police Force, pwede rin tinatawag na Metropolitan Police Force, pwede rin tinatawag na MET. So, ngayon, ang tawag, or rather, ang tawag sa police force na yan is Scotland Yard. So, si Sir Robert Peel ang yan. Now, you may be probably asking, alin ba yung posted runners or yung LMPF? Actually, nauna yung posted runners ni Henry Findlay. So, as I have mentioned, posted runners, first professional police force in London. Now, what happened is, as time went by, naging abusado yung mga members ng Street Runners. Hence, na-conceive ni Sir Robert or Bobby Peel na mag-create ng London Metropolitan Police Force. And kumbaga, marami yung adjustments na ginawa nila doon sa system ng Street Runners. And kung sa Street Runners, nag-invest sila ng criminal rates, nag-develop sila ng informants, nag-print sila ng mga wanted notices. One notable na changes or adjustments na ginawa ni Sir Robert Peel at ng kanyang London Metropolitan Police Force is pinapagsuot na nila ng uniform yung members nila. At saka nag-undergo na ng formal training. So kumbaga, mas professional na yung LMPF as compared to that of the posted news. Okay? And commonly, the members of the London Metropolitan Police Force are often referred to as buddies or dealers, which is actually after the name of Sir Robert King. So those are the personalities. Let us proceed naman doon sa mga nexes. And then what transpired doon sa lugar. So in 1833 in England, so Scotland was able to employ the first undercover officer. In the same year, in the USA, the first Database Police Department naman was established in Philadelphia. Tapos, yung tinatawag na Texas Rangers. Are you familiar with FBI?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Miss Carla Jane,
Yes, sir.
okay. Miss Carla Jane, in your own understanding, ano yung trabaho ng FBI?
They investigate, sir, the crimes. Just like kanang NBI siguro, sir, there is sa Philippines.
Okay. When it comes to jurisdiction,
Mas kuan sila, sir, mas wide itahang scope kaysa sa sir.
okay, thank you. Mr. Dilaw, balikan kita, Mr. Dilaw. Mr. Kenneth, Masuman. Yes. What do you understand about having a federal